Colossians 3, verse 12 and 13 says, therefore, as the elect of God, holy and beloved, put on tender mercies, kindness, humility, meekness, long-suffering, bearing with one another, forgiving one another. If anyone has a complaint against you, even as Christ forgave you, so also must do. You must do. Have you ever heard the statement? I know guys have heard it. Is that what you're wearing? What about this one? Dress for success. Or clothes make the man. Mankind has been fascinated with clothes. People make a good living by designing clothes. We even have TV programs dedicated to fashion. There are stores that doesn't sell anything else but clothing. The data for 2011, the yearly expense on clothes was 0.8% for men's clothes, 1.5% for women's clothes. This was 2011. And 0.7% for shoes. Now, you know who's buying shoes, right? Data for 2013. Now listen to this. The amount of money that Americans spend on clothing each year varies. It is believed that the total is about $82 million per year. Most people, I ain't talking about us, I guarantee you, but most people spend $1,500 on clothes every year. Yeah. The Apostle Paul wanted us to be concerned about what we were wearing out in public. He even has talked about what Christians are to wear as far as clothing and accessories. But now he's dealing with not just our outward appearance, but also our inward appearance. He says, put on tender mercies, kindness, humility, meekness, long-suffering. These are things that Paul wants Christians to put on. So if you have to put on something, that means that you usually don't wear it, right? If you have to put on something. These things are things we decide to put on. Things that we make a choice to wear. You decide in your mind if you're going to be merciful. It's your decision. It's your decision if you're going to be kind or not. Now, let me tell you, the world needs a lot more kinder people. We've got a world that is cruel and mean and hard-hearted, and the world needs people who are kind. It's your decision if you're going to be humble or assertive. You make that decision. It's your decision to be humble or boastful. And you may not always feel like these things. You may not always feel like doing these things. You know, to be humble, to be merciful, to have long suffering or patience with someone, or being kind to someone. But I ask ask you to go ahead and put them on anyway, even if you don't feel like it. Even if you are thinking in the back of your mind, you know what, I really don't feel like being like this. Go ahead and do it. Be kind. Be generous. Have humility. Have long suffering. Be patient. Even if it's just temporarily. Even if it's just for that one person. I'm sure there's been times when you've looked at a piece of clothing, in the store, and you think, I don't know if I really like that. But you went ahead and tried it on, and man, the material was so soft and felt so good, and it fit you just right, and you looked in the mirror and you thought, man, I look pretty good. And you thought, man, this is comfortable. I could wear this. And pretty soon you find yourself wearing it more and more because it just feels right. That's what I'm saying about these things here. Try them on. Try them on for size. See how it affects you. See how it makes you feel. Sometimes when you wear clothing, it makes you feel different. It makes you feel good about yourself. Well, try these on and see how you feel. See how it changes you. See how other people react to you. Y'all all wore clothes that looks good on you, and somebody come up to you and go, man, you look good. If you lost weight and you hadn't lost weight, you just tucked it in better. But it made you feel good. Well, try these attributes. Try these things on for size and see how they change you. See how people react to you when you try these things. You may think, well, that's kind of hypocritical. Doing these things and not really feeling it. But it's not. It's not. But I guarantee you there's been times, I've heard y'all say it, I've said it myself, there's been times I just didn't want to come to church. But once I got here, man, I was glad I was here. Because I heard something that inspired me or helped me or encouraged me in some way. It's the same thing with this, man. Try these things. When you put them on in your life, you'll begin to change. You'll begin to see things in a different light. Even if you're kind to someone who hasn't been kind to you, go ahead and be kind. Go ahead and be kind to them. Even if they've not been kind to you, be kind to them. Remember a couple of weeks ago I had to go to pray for Joe McCoy. She was the pastor's wife at Tanglewood. And when her husband had died, he died the Sunday before I was to take over. They were moving to Killeen. And he told his son when he was crippled and in bad health. His son had laid him in bed and he said, I'm just ready to go home. He said, Dad, I'm moving just as clean as where they was originally from. He said, I'm trying to get you there as quick as I can. He said, after the funeral, he realized that people were talking about me. Joel McCoy continued to go to church at Tanglewood and was a great help to Tina and I as we were there. And I don't remember what happened, but Joe McCoy came up to us, put her arms around us, and said, kill him with kindness. Kill him with kindness. And so we tried the best we could to be kind to those individuals. I don't know if they change. But you can't be kind to someone without beginning to care for them and love them in the way that you should. And every so often, something will happen and Tina will lean over to me and say, kill them with kindness. Kindness works. Sometimes we think of kindness as weakness, but it's not. It is the most powerful tool that God has given us as Christians. Maybe you need to be submissive. Maybe you need to be long-suffering. Maybe you need to be forgiving towards someone. And you're not really sure if you're doing it because you're required to, because God tells you to, or you're doing it because you want to. But I promise you, if you'll step in that direction, you'll find yourself not doing it because He requires it of us, but doing it because you want to, because it makes you feel different. Forgiveness, and long-suffering, and patience, and merciful. You begin to change on the inside. You begin to put on these clothes. Remember, y'all, you cannot control the way you feel. I mean, emotions come over you sometimes. And this last 3 weeks, man, I've had emotions ranging from bawling to just anger, just flooding me. But I have learned one thing: you cannot go by your emotions. You cannot depend on them. You cannot depend on how you're feeling, but you can control how you act.
Amen.
That is not being hypocritical. That is doing what God wants us to do, even if you don't feel like it. When you submit to what is required of you as a Christian, you'll find out there is a reward that you'll receive that is greater than anything temporal that the world can offer. An act of kindness or patience or being forgiven can impact your life in a positive way and can impact others in a positive way. Small acts of kindness have eternal benefits. It may have a long-lasting effect way after the deed is done. Way after. Because people don't forget about acts of kindness towards them. Mamie Adams went to the post office during Christmas time, and it was just packed. Everybody's sending gifts and cards, and finally someone said, "Hey, you don't have to stand in line. You can go over here. There's a stamp machine, and you can get your stamps right there." She says, "I know, but the stamp machine won't ask me about my arthritis." We all need acts of kindness, don't we? We all do. I just want to share a couple of acts of kindness that have happened to me recently that I want to share with you. I'll try not to bawl so much, but if I do, you just have to understand. When I told y'all about Josh, when we got up to shake hands with everybody, Walter come to me and said, "I'll go with you to jail and visit him." What an act of Tuesday. Said I'll send him a card or a letter. I'll write to him. She's already done that. Act of kindness. One must have raised her good. I know water didn't have nothing to do with it. Dave texted me the next day. Said, what do you want me to do? Send him money, card, letter, what? Here she is in pain and hurting and dealing with her own problems, and yet act of kindness. I cannot count the deeds of what you've done for me and my family, as a church group and as individuals. How you've helped me, encouraged me, prayed for me. How you've been there for me at times of sickness and sadness. Those are all acts of kindness that you've shown. But even greater than that, seeing all the things you do for one another. Seeing how you help one another. Make phone calls, write cards, make visits, bring food. In times of need. And then there's those times that you've helped people you don't even know. Maybe people I've heard about, or maybe it's circumstances we know about, but you don't really know them personally. And you have never failed to help them. Whether it was giving money, or food, or some kind of donation. You've reached out with love and compassion. And as the letter said a while ago, I thought it was so neat that it said kindness. We are blessed in this church. This past week, I think it was this week, maybe last week, there was a man who broke down going towards the 9-way store. He's in a Suburban, elderly man, and he had a gas can in his hand. He was standing right behind the vehicle. There was a couple of cars in front of me, and they passed him. And I seen him, and I was going to stop, but there was how people get, they're right on your bumper. And so I went to the store, I turned around, I came back, and he was still standing there, pulled around, and I asked him if he needed help. And he said, yes, I need some gas. So I'll give you a ride to the store. So he got in, I introduced myself. And he said, I've seen this truck before. You live around here? And I said, yes, I'm the pastor at Blackjack Baptist Church. He said, well, you're a religious man. I'm going to tell you something. I said, okay. So, he said, I'll tell you in just a minute. By then, we'd done got to the store, and he got out and got his gas. We got back in. We were coming back. He said, last year, I had my second stroke. They rushed me to Caldwell, and then couldn't really do nothing there, and they rushed me to Bryan. He said the doctor and nurse came in and told me, said, well, you're going to be here a while. It's been a bad one. He said, I know through broken words. I said, I can't stay. I got to get home. He said, Mama is in the bed. She can't take care of herself. And I'm the only one there. Now, I don't know if he's talking about his mama or like some of us do. his wife, and I think it was his wife. I really do. And he said they left, and a few moments later, the nurse that had been standing there came back in the room. And she asked him if she could pray for him. He said yes. And she prayed for him. Now he said he couldn't walk. His words were slurred. But he said the next morning he was able to get up on his own, shake himself out of that hospital, and come back to be with his wife. He said she passed away 2 weeks later. And he started crying. And he said that I got to spend those 2 weeks with her instead of in the hospital. And man, he's bawling, I'm bawling. He gets out of the car and he's trying to put his gas in his vehicle, and I'm sitting there and I'm trying to get my composure. I didn't catch his name. I don't know where he lives. And I seen he was having trouble, so I got out of my truck and I helped him with the gas can because, it had that safety feature on it. And I said, I'm just going to follow you to the store, see if you're going to make it, all right? I followed him to the store and I waved at him. So I walked down the road and I thought, here I thought I was doing an act of kindness. And yet, he returned the favor by sharing with me about a nurse who did an act of kindness for him. And I thought to myself, I wonder if that nurse even knew how that impacted his life. How it changed his life. How that prayer got him out of the hospital so he could be with his loved one. And then I thought, I wonder if she just thought, well, I'm just saying a prayer, that's all I'm doing. See, we never know what small act of kindness, how that will change a person's life forever.
Amen.
Tonight, before you go to bed, you'll probably ask yourself, what am I going to wear tomorrow? That's a good question. What will you choose to wear? I hope the question will have a deeper meaning than just clothes you put on. And we'll also talk about the attitude you'll have. Will you not be cruel and hard-hearted and mean? And snap at people just because you have problems? Or will you put on compassion and kindness and tender mercies and long-suffering towards others? We're going to have a song of invitation.